Welcome back to Fireside Knicks. I am your co-host, Brett Hanfling. It's been a while. It's good to be back. For the first time, I'm being joined by Bryce Gelman, my new co-host. We are going to be talking Knicks. Of course, we're going to be talking RJ Barrett. It's the dog days of summer, but things are heating up in Knicks world. Bryce, before we get into basketball and RJ and Donovan Mitchell, how are you?
What's going on, Brett? First off, let me just say it's an honor. From afar, I've always enjoyed this podcast. And as someone who's also a big fan of Alex, it's bittersweet to not see him alongside you here. My name is Bryce Gelman. For anyone who doesn't know, I am a senior at Syracuse University. I'm up at school right now. And let's just say I'm a diehard Knicks fan. My family's had Knicks season tickets for over 60 years. It's crazy to say, but it's been a while, and it's been a lot of suffering. Like over 60. We're talking Jesus. Old Garden. It's been in the Gelman family name. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but listen, it's the best fan base in all of sports, and it's great to be a part of it.
Yeah, so great to have you. Listen, it's August 30th. We're supposed to be just, enjoying the rest of summer, starting to get the fantasy football drafts in. I'm supposed to get excited about the Giants before they let me down. But no, we have big New York Knicks news. RJ Barrett extended 4 years, $120 million. The first Knicks first round draft pick to be extended since Charlie Ward. One of the craziest curses, streaks in all of sports. What are your opinion? What's your general thoughts? RJ is a Knick for the next, 4 years.
So I think for the first time in what has been a really long time, all Knicks fans seem to be happy. I mean, maybe I'm missing a few people, but for the most part, the general consensus is that the Knicks made a good move here. They made a good move for whatever reason. I think a lot of fans like me, and we'll get into this in a little, would have been really upset to see him go to Utah in a potential Donovan Mitchell trade. This kind of hampers all that, and it's just a good move. I mean, considering the fact that he wanted around the full max for him was around 5 years, $170 million. To get 4 years, 120 is a steal, in my opinion.
I mean, I said it on Twitter. Who would argue with a fair incentive base? There's a little incentives to it. So what they say is most likely will be a 4 year, $108 million contract, which works out to $27 million a year. It's not a max, but it's a lot of money. It's probably slightly more than what his play has shown, which is okay. You take care of your guys. He's a guy we draft. He's a guy that has a lot of potential. You pay on potential. So, you're right. It's one of those rare times where everyone sees that this was a deal that should have got done, had to get done. And, Leon Rose in the front office got it done. And, it's weird timing with the Donovan Mitchell trade. And, everyone knew the extension was up this summer, but it kind of got lost in everything. People were talking about it right when the season ended, but you didn't hear much about it the last couple of weeks. So just sitting watching TV last night, what was it, 11:15? I didn't expect, it was totally out of my mind. And, then I had to be up for the next hour and a half. But I don't know. What are your other thoughts?
I just think that, like I said, it's a great time to be a Knicks fan. It's incredible to say that. And in terms of great, as in, let's put it into perspective here. We're Knicks fans. We are accustomed to just terrible decision-making and pure incompetency in the front office. For the first time in a while, I think there is, I don't know. I'm feeling confident right now, Brett. I'm feeling good about the front office.
I mean, there's no reason not to. First of all, we have young talent. We have RJ, Quickly, Obi, Mitchell Robinson, Jalen Brunson. We have a plethora of draft picks. We how many do we have at this point? We traded back this year. We have more than we've ever had. It used to be that we had none. We would give up our draft picks on whatever it was, and it wouldn't work out. Okay. I don't know if you got that notification. Let's keep going. Leon Rose came in. I wouldn't say – I don't want to give them too much credit. I don't know if they've nailed anything. I don't know if they nailed last offseason with, Nerlens and Alec Burks. And, I don't know if they've done anything spectacular, but the relationships brought in Jalen Brunson. When I say relationships, that's a strong word when it's, when it's basically family. but everything seems to be on the right track. And that's where I get a little bit nervous about the whole Donovan Mitchell situation, because for the first time in a long time, everything's on the right track. So it's like these two trains of thought. Do we just keep going? Do we just push forward the young players, keep making draft picks, keep getting better? Or do we make a splash and finally go for it and get Donovan Mitchell, one of the stars in this league?
Well, that's the dilemma right now that the Knicks front office is facing. I think either way you go could have its benefits, and some of them could outweigh the negatives in both situations. It remains to be seen. But right now, it's a good position for the Knicks to be in. Like you said, sitting on a lot of assets, some young players, some good picks. There's a reason why the front office has acquired these assets and young players, because they don't think that the team is still a huge destination for free agents. In 2019, you remember it. I remember it. Every Knicks fan that calls themselves Knicks fans will remember it as well. The entire year, the media was hammering it home that Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving were coming to the Knicks, and guess what happened? They didn't come. So I think that brought down the hope for a lot of people. But ever since Leon Rose has come in, he's understood the situation that, he took over. This is a team that doesn't really bring in the type of interest that they'd like to see. A New York team should bring in the mecca of basketball in free agent interest. So what they've done is just smart, and it's honestly the most impressed and just naturally good I felt about this front office ever.
Yeah. I'm going to push back a tiny bit. So we didn't get Kevin Durant. There were legitimate rumors, not just rumors. Like, he had interest in the Knicks at a point. I think it was Kyrie Irving that wanted to go to Brooklyn, and they went there. So we didn't get him. After all these stars were available the last decade, the star market just dried up for whatever reason. Lillard, we thought would be available, was going back. I think the Knicks have made themselves a destination for the right guy, and it hasn't happened. And because of that, Leon Rose has taken the right course. They've collected draft picks, they signed solid players in Jalen Brunson, and just kept pushing forward. But again, I don't want to give them all the credit in the world. We still, we missed the playoffs last year. So it's been a little up and down, but everything seems to be going the right direction. So that brings me to the point. Do you want to risk it all for Donovan Mitchell? And what is that risk it all?
Yeah, so the second Danny Ainge actually understands the market currently, because it's shifted pretty fast. You look back 2 months ago or a month and a half ago when he somehow got 5 unprotected first-round picks for Rudy Gobert, in probably the most lopsided trade in NBA history. And
which feels like last offseason already.
It's insane, but how quick things have shifted in the market. But the second Danny Ainge actually comes to realize the situation and comes back down to earth is the second I pull the trigger on this trade. It was just reported, I think 30, 45 minutes ago by Shams that the Knicks offered 2 unprotected first-round picks and RJ Barrett in a trade for Donovan Mitchell. They gave Danny Ainge until Monday night until they were going to pull the trigger on an extension. Danny Ainge obviously turned that down. What is this guy thinking? Who does he think Donovan Mitchell is? This guy isn't LeBron James. He's not a top 10 player in the league. He's arguably not even a top 30 player in the league. Is he almost a superstar? He's a 25-year-old kid. Listen, he has a lot of room to grow. His defense is terrible. Let's just cut straight to the chase. He's not a good defender. So until he develops that other side of the ball, you can't call him a bona fide superstar. He has a long way to come. He is not worth RJ Barrett. I think that even that was too much for the Knicks. And
I disagree with that.
God bless. I'm sorry. 2 unprotected first-round picks. You never know what's going to happen with this organization. It's been unpredictable for all of time.
Okay, here's the slight counterpoint. So first of all, I think he's solidly in the top 30. I think he's probably close to 18th, 19th best player in the league. The thing with the unprotected picks, if you have Donovan Mitchell, you have Jalen Brunson, quickly top in Mitchell Robinson, Julius Randle, even though what everyone thinks about him, that should be a playoff team where those picks just, the value deflates. You can have an awful season and miss the playoffs and be a lottery pick and it's a disaster. But that's something that when you expect to be a good team, you sort of, you give up at times. I don't know. I could have pushed back. I think Donovan Mitchell is a solid 25-point scorer. His defense isn't there, but so is a lot of superstars' defense not there. And there's no reason with everything we've seen that he's not on an upward trajectory. Like, he adds things to his game. He's a great shooter. He loves the big moment. He should love the Garden. I get what you're saying. I was surprised to see that report come out that we offered RJ Barrett and 2 unprotected first-round picks. And honestly, it feels a little icky. It feels a little dirty because, as I just said, like we took care of our hometown guy, but that's after we just tried to ship him. It feels a little weird because I want this whole RJ thing to be this celebration of our home, our draft pick getting extended and this big happy family, Leon Rose and Barrett and Brunson. And it just feels a little weird. I when that report came out, I was kind of scratching my head. I was like, do people realize that what just happened? I don't know. I feel a little weird about that. I kind of wish it wasn't true. Not even just for the fact that, like, that's a big offer, because I do think it's a big offer, RJ. Also, what Jonathan Macri reported was there was also 3 protected first-round picks in that. So RJ, 2 unprotected, and 3 protected. Now, he's not exactly an insider, but he does have his sources. That's a lot.
It's too much.
So yeah. So
it's just like, listen, if you're gonna be a Knicks fan who's trying to be happy about re-signing RJ Barrett to $30 million a year, you have to value him like a $30 million player. So a lot of people coming out and saying, oh, well, RJ is not this, RJ is not that. I mean, if you just looked at Knicks Twitter for the last year, I mean, let's just put it pretty bluntly, it's been RJ Barrett dick riding. And all of a sudden now, they offer him and 5 picks. Yes, 2 of those are unprotected and 3 of them are protected. But you offer him and 5 first-round picks for Donovan Mitchell. Listen, there is a clear differentiation that can be made between these 2 players, right? RJ Barrett is still pretty raw in a sense. Yes, he averaged 20 points per game, but he's nowhere near as good of a scorer and as dynamic of a player as Donovan Mitchell is. But still, then again, the guy's 22 years old. So you're offering a 22-year-old and 5 first-round picks for, and listen, you may be right about, I think Donovan probably falls between 20 and 30. I wouldn't go as high as 18 or 17, but you can't, like, I cannot for the life of me understand, first off, how Danny Ainge did not accept that deal. And second off, how Knicks fans could look at this and just automatically lower the value of a guy that they've been hyping up for the last year. RJ Barrett is a really good young player, and everyone disrespects him. Knicks fans are going to do it now?
Well, the Ainge thing is weird. I sort of get that he wants a complete restart. And what, RJ's 23? What is he, 22, 23?
22.
Like, it's hard to say that a 22-year-old is not a complete restart, but when you are paying him almost $30 million, it's almost like he's one of your cornerstones, and I would want him to be one of my cornerstones, but I get that to Ainge, it's like he might want to start completely fresh, like more picks, like instead of RJ. I don't agree with it, and it sets the market to a weird point where when we talk about is this trade going to happen, there was a point or most of the season, I thought it was about 50%. After seeing he turned that down, I would probably put it under 50%. I think a trade would have to be centered around Fournier, Toppin, maybe Grimes, and a couple picks. But, I don't know. And I wonder if Leon Rose and the crew just kind of say, we like who we have here. We like this squad. I'm getting a notification, but we're pros, so we'll keep going. I think this is going to shut off. This is the kinks of,
we're just experimenting
starting a new
here.
podcast.
We're just experimenting here. We're just experimenting here. Listen, it's
preseason.
It's the off season of our podcast, all right?
Exactly. We'll be square by the season.
Give us 15 more podcasts, we'll be chilling.
Yeah. Any kind of final thoughts? So we're gonna be back. We just wanted to get out here and talk about this a little bit, but we'll be back soon. Bryce, any kind of final thoughts? Whether it's Mitchell, RJ, anything going on with the Knicks?
I think a lot of people, a lot of my friends have been in my ear about, I really want them to make this move. I really want it to happen. What's the rush? What is the rush? Let this play out over time. I'd love to see Quentin Grimes. I don't know if he's going to get the opportunity, but I'd love to see him start a few games before we eventually trade him. Like, let's look at what we have right now. Yes, this is the first time in a really long time that a superstar has become disgruntled enough, or whatever you want to call it. Front office just doesn't want to pay him, whatever. This is the first time in a really long time, yes, that a guy is available. But look at the starting lineup. This is just a team that went 41-31. You add a ball-dominant point guard right now who could facilitate. He could score too. And we have not had this since Raymond Felton. And Raymond Felton was nowhere near the type of player that Jalen Brunson is. So I think err on the side of caution. Let it play out. Don't tweak out about this. Everything happens for a reason. I know I'm just saying this. I can't believe I'm a positive Knicks fan right now. It's been a really long time since I've gotten to this point. Let it play out. We'll see how it works.
I agree. I mean, I agree. I see both sides. I'd love to see the squad, see if everyone can improve, see how we start off. The other side of the coin is, sometimes these things just disappear. I mean, once they start the season with Mitchell, and let's say they get off to a decently hot start, which they probably won't. At that point, the tank might be off. So while I hear you, I also hear the other side, and that's why this situation is so tricky. It's going to be really fun to see how it plays out. Also, you call him disgruntled. It's kind of funny. He's the least disgruntled star of all time, because he's like chilling. Yes. He's going to Mets games, and he was just at dinner with Quickly. Like, I don't think he has any bad blood with the the organization.
Besides just taking him out of his bio today, which is the only thing he's done. He's stayed like completely.
That is
clear.
True. That was a surprising move.
You know how many random. I mean, he goes to Mets games. Like, of course, there's going to be a random Nick, random Nick fan like Joe Schmo out on the side. Donovan, you come into the Knicks. He hasn't said anything. I don't know. He hasn't said anything.
It's true. Every other star, like Lamar Jackson, he'll even just like a tweet, and so it's like that.
Yeah,
or
just
KD will be replying to tweets. But Bryce, I think we're going to wrap it up there. We're going to be back often, so we want to keep this short. RJ Barrett is a Knick for the long term. It's a good day in New York. Who knows? Maybe we'll be back tomorrow to talk about Donovan Mitchell news. Things are happening fast, and I'm really excited for the season and to have you on here.
Hey, it's a great time to be a Knicks fan. Just an awesome thing to say.
All right, take care. We'll be back.